Okay, looks like I'm talking about Finn's sword today. Alright, where do I begin? Okay, I'll start out by saying that Finn uses a lot of swords throughout the beginning of Adventure Time. And I mean a lot of swords, so much that fans get intrigued on what new sword he gets. It's literally become a whole staple of the show. Finn getting a new sword is the equivalent to a new transformation in Dragon Ball. They both give the wielder newfound power and also they're good for marketing. Sorry about that. Going back on topic, I'm going to be running through Finn's swords, primarily the ones that he uses throughout the series of Adventure Time. So I will not be covering any temporary swords like the Thunder Sword, and I will not be covering any swords used throughout the comics. So let's begin with the Golden Sword of Battle, which is Finn's most iconic sword used throughout the beginning of the show. The sword has only been used throughout seasons 1 and season 2. Although the sword has been used throughout a long period on screen, it doesn't possess any magical properties, unlike Finn's later swords. There's nothing more I could say about the sword besides it being ordinary. All I could say is that the sword would later get replaced by the root sword, which is similar to the golden sword in the sense that it's also ordinary. The only importance that it has is it serves as a replacement for the golden sword. Moving on, we have the Demon Blood Sword, which is Finn's most unique sword. The sword is first seen in the episode Dad's Dungeon, where Finn inherits it from his adopted/deceased father Joshua. Unlike Finn's other swords, the sword is completely made out of demon blood, hence the name Demon Blood Sword. The sword was created by Keoth with his own blood. He tried to use it to escape after being captured by Joshua, but sadly he failed and the sword fell onto Joshua's hands. When it comes to the abilities of the Demon Blood Sword, it can harm demonic entities like Hansen Abidir and is shown to be resistant to demonic magic. Sadly, the sword would get destroyed by Keoth after he drained the blood from it. Moving on, we have the Dimensional Sword, which could theoretically be Finn's strongest sword that he's ever possessed, if you don't count the Night Sword. Because of the sword is a literal black hole, the sword can literally consume, or in other words, crush anything it touches. The sword was created when Finn passed the Golden Sword through a bubble creator, turning the sword into a fourth dimensional object. Shortly after the creation of the sword got consumed by another black hole. Moving on to the next sword, which is the Grass Sword. The Grass Sword is one of my favorite swords Finn gets, primarily because it's cursed and can bond with its user for eternity. The sword has also shown signs of being sentient due to it being a cursed object. When it comes to the abilities of the sword allows its user to cut things precisely. In other words, it can never miss its target. The Grass Sword can change its shape to whatever the user imagines, and also possesses regenerative abilities, like being able to regenerate Finn's arm after he had lost it. The Grass Sword has also been shown to be hostile towards enemies that attack its user. Sadly, the sword was lost after it had detached itself from Finn, fusing with the Finn Sword, creating Fern. Next on the list, we have the Finn Sword. Just like the Grass Sword, the Finn Sword is also sentient, in the sense that the Finn Sword is Finn or Finn's essence. The Finn Sword was created by a paradox after Finn sacrificed an alternate version of himself to bring Prismo back to life, turning his alternate counterpart into a sword. When it comes to the Finn Sword, it gives the user the physical abilities of Finn during the time the sword was created, due to the sword being Finn himself. But if Finn were to use the sword, all it would do is double his physical abilities. Unfortunately, the sword would get destroyed due to circumstances caused by a bandit princess and it fusing with the Grass Sword, creating Fern. And last on our entry, we have the Night Sword, a sword created by Peppermint Butler himself. The sword was extremely powerful, so much that it could suppress powers of malevolent beings like Hansen Abidir, despite the fact that Hansen Abidir enchanted it himself. Unfortunately, this is all that I can say regarding Finn's swords, so if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, follow me on my socials, and I'll see you next time. Bye!